Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just mingling with royals and billionaires. He was pitching startups. Not the kind of startup you're thinking either. His idea was a global emergency surveillance app backed by ex-prime ministers and aimed at the same Silicon Valley crowd he'd quietly been investing in. And if that sounds like a Black Mirror episode written by a lobbyist, I mean, yeah, it kind of was. Today, we're diving into Epstein's tech ties, how he tried to go from sex offender to tech investor, what names pop up in his emails and schedules, and where the line between solid facts and squishy speculation really starts. Let's start with the story that ties it all together. Reportee. According to Reason Magazine's 2025 expose, Epstein, working through his friend and frequent travel companion Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Israel, invested in a security tech startup called Reportee Homeland Security. It later rebranded to Carbine. Here's what it claimed to do: a real-time emergency response platform that could stream video, share GPS coordinates, and integrate directly with law enforcement systems. Basically, like FaceTime meets 911, except it's funded by a registered sex offender and a former spy chief. Wow, no red flags here whatsoever. And Reason reports that Epstein didn't just invest in this. He was trying to sell it. Using Ehud Barak as his go-between, he arranged for him to meet Peter Thiel in New York back in 2014. So Epstein, a man fresh off sex crimes convictions, is pitching a surveillance company to Peter Thiel, the billionaire who co-founded Palantir, one of the most powerful data mining firms on planet Earth. If you're wondering why this is so concerning, I recommend you check out my videos on Peter Thiel and Palantir. It's a real rabbit hole. It's not good for surveillance anyway. Solid versus squishy. Let's separate what's solid information and what's squishy information. You like that? I think it's kind of cute. Solid. Epstein and Ehud Barak both invested in later Carbine. Barak himself confirmed this, telling Israeli media that Epstein put money into his tech ventures. Epstein arranged a meeting between him and Thiel in 2014. And in 2016, he pitched the company to Valar. Squishy. Did Valar seriously consider investing? Did Epstein have an actual board set, or was it just like a handshake pitch? And the bigger question, how deep did the spy tech connection actually go? Epstein's intelligence fetish. Epstein's tech ambitions didn't stop at his weird little app. He got into a whole spy industry angle, trying to position himself as a connector between intelligence, finance, and Silicon Valley. Very, ooh, look at me, I'm so smart. He cultivated people like Ehud Barak, who had deep roots in Israeli intelligence, and courted venture capitalists with both political and tech reach. According to leaked emails, he saw tech as a new source of influence. Investments in companies like Carbine gave him access to high-level conversations about surveillance, defense, and infrastructure. And remember, this is the same man who already had MIT on his donor list, Harvard in his Rolodex, and scientists flying around on his jets. So it wasn't just Epstein tossing money around, well, he was, but not just for fun. He was building a network. But for what? Peter Thiel's side of the story. Now, what about Peter Thiel himself? What's this freak got to say about it? Here's what we know. Epstein reportedly invested $40 million into two Valar Ventures funds between 2015 and 2016, meaning a long time after he was already a registered sex offender. That investment later became one of the biggest assets in Epstein's estate, with estimates putting it worth $130 to $170 million, depending on the source and the date of the reporting. Exact valuation varies by article and by research because it's based on estate documents and internal figures. So it's a bit, but it's a lot of money. So even if Valar never took Epstein's surveillance pitch seriously, Epstein was still making money from Thiel's funds. It's a strange little paradox, right? Thiel's team didn't want Epstein's startup, but they accepted his cash. But hey, morals have always been a little bit confusing for Peter Thiel. Names, calendars, and convenient amnesia. So let's zoom out a little bit because Epstein wasn't just flirting with Peter Thiel. The recently released House Oversight documents from 2025 mention a handful of other tech names in Epstein's schedules. One note reads, reminder, Elon Musk to Ireland December 6. Is it still happening? That's from Epstein's 2014 calendar. Elon denies ever making that trip, and as far as we can tell, it was a tentative entry. not proof of travel. And yeah, shockingly, we believe Elon, okay? I know, we believe him, I'm sorry. Bill Gates, on the other hand, did meet Epstein multiple times. According to major outlets, Gates visited Epstein's Manhattan townhouse in 2013, but he later called this a mistake.
And, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Yes, your wife left you and now everyone thinks you're fucking weird. Good one, Bill. Those meetings appear in multiple reports, often framed around philanthropy and funding discussions. Sergey Brin, co-founder of Google, also shows up in legal documents, not for socializing as much, but because Epstein advised him on a tax trust in 2007 and introduced him to various bankers. Brin was later subpoenaed for information in the US Virgin Islands JP Morgan case. That frames Epstein as a deals and structures fixer for ultra-wealthy tech founders. Brin has also for sure socialized around Epstein. There are reports of him being at parties and stuff, but I mean, who knows with that frickin' guy? And other big tech names like Larry Ellison, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Steve Jobs, the classics, they don't appear in any sort of credible way in the public record. They don't get a fat mention. They're not on flight logs and stuff. MIT, the gateway to legitimacy. Epstein's little tech ambitions were also very much academic. At MIT, he donated roughly $850,000 between 2002 and 2017, most of it after his conviction. Once again, a registered sex offender at this point. An internal investigation by the law firm Goodwin Procter later found that MIT staff accepted his money anonymously with notes warning no contact without VP approval. Epstein personally visited MIT's media lab at least 9 times. So he wasn't hiding or anything. He was straight up networking in plain sight. And that is the pattern that runs through all of this. Epstein using philanthropy, investments, and introductions to rebrand himself as some sort of visionary, a connector, even a futurist. He tried to pivot from sex crimes to science, from blackmail to biotech. And for a while, it worked. What do we make of all this? Epstein wasn't a coder, a founder, or even like a proper investor. But he understood something about power, that tech had replaced finance as the real elite club. He was trying to get in there. From MIT's Media Lab to Thiel's venture funds, Epstein found new ways to slip into systems that reward intelligence, money, and connections, no matter where they came from. Part of me thinks he was like, these guys are morally void. I'm gonna go over there. They'll like me. But maybe that's all the most unsettling part. Because the deeper you go into Epstein's tech ties, the clearer it becomes that this wasn't about curiosity, it was always about access to data, to institutions, and to the people shaping the future. People who, for a while, let him in. If you learned something new today, hit subscribe because this rabbit hole goes way, way deeper. We make videos like this for you 5 days a week. So make sure you join us, hit the bell. I've also done a lot of research on pretty much every single thing mentioned in this video. Peter Thiel is a Channel 100 News celebrity who worked with the FBI once and has crazy companies. I've looked into Elon extensively, and of course I have about 100 billion Epstein videos there for you too. If you want to just jump into that, I would recommend it. And to our subscribers, let us know anything you've seen pop up recently that you want to know more about, or some weird person you feel is a bit sketchy but you just can't prove it yet. We love taking your suggestions. Bye.